Hi there, and thanks for tuning in. This is going to be Algebra 1's Chapter 2, the first quiz review. And the first quiz we're talking about is lessons 2.1 through 2.4. You will have a quiz again, but that won't be until lesson 2.6. So let's go ahead and just review. This is from page 80 in your textbook, and we're just going to review those 16 questions. So number 1 and 2, you're set just to write the sentence as an inequality. I'm going to scoot these down here so I have some more room. Number 1 says z minus 6 is greater than or equal to 11. Okay, so that's how number 1 should be written. And then number 2, it says 12 is no more than. Think about the example where you're asking your parent to buy you some shoes. Mom, I need to get shoes that are going to cost no more than $20. That $20 should be less than or equal to. Okay, so 12 is less than or equal to the sum of negative 1.5 and then times the number w. So negative 1.5 w, and then you're adding that to 4. So that's what number 2 should look like for your review. For number 3 and 4, you're just writing an inequality that represents the graph. Number 3, you're going to say x is less than 0, because that's an open circle pointing to the left, and it's over the number 0. And then number 4, that should be x is greater than or equal to 8. Because we have a closed circle, those are always going to be the greater thans or equal to, less thans or equal to. For number 5 through 10, this section says solve the inequality and then graph the solution. So number 5, you're going to be subtracting 9 from both sides. So you get q is less than or equal to 6. And then to graph that, you'll have 6 in the middle, 5 to the left, 7 to the right. That is a closed circle pointing to the left. For number 6, we came upon this question in homework. Z minus negative 7 actually translates to z plus positive 7. Remember, if we're subtracting, we're adding the opposite, or two negatives together make a positive. So you really should have z plus 7, and then once you solve that, you're going to get z is less than negative 2. So on your number line, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, that is an open circle pointing left. For number 7, you're going to be adding 4 to the other side. So we'll have negative 3 plus 4 is 1. So 1 is less than y, but remember, it'd be best if y was written on the left side. So 1 is less than y is the same thing as y is greater than 1. And notice that the alligator is eating the y still, so I just flipped that around, kind of like if you saw the mirror reflection. To graph y is greater than 1, for number 7, we have an open circle above the number 1 pointing to the right. For number 8, we're just dividing by 3 on both sides. So we get p is greater than or equal to 6. So when we graph this one, we're going to have a closed circle, and again pointing to the right. For number 9, you needed to be careful because you had to multiply by a negative number to answer your question. And anytime you multiply or divide by a negative, your inequality symbol flips or reverses. So you should end up getting negative 12 is less than w, and when you rewrite this, it should say w is greater than negative 12. And on your number line, we have negative 13, negative 12, negative 11. That is an open circle pointing to the right. So maybe take some extra time to review that in your notes from lesson 2.3. Same thing is true for number 10. Because we're dividing by a negative, in order to make this inequality true, I'm switching my inequality sign from greater than to be a less than. So x is less than negative 5 over 20 or negative 1/4, or you can say negative 0.25. Both of those mean the same thing. Just make sure you swapped that inequality symbol. I'm going to do 0, 1/4. Oops, that's negative. Sorry, guys. 0, negative 1/4, negative 1/2. And that would be an open circle pointing to the left. Okay? For number 11, we're solving the inequality again, but this is a two-step problem. So we're going to add 7 to both sides. So we'll have 3y is greater than or equal to 24. And when we divide both sides by 3, y is greater than or equal to 8. It doesn't say to graph it, so I'm going to keep going to number 12. Number 12, you had to distribute first. So we have 24g minus 16 is less than or equal to 24g plus 12. Okay, you got to be careful here. I'm going to subtract 24g and make it to be on the left side. And then remember we talked about a little bit about this in one of our lessons. Both these 24g's are canceling, so I'm going to get negative 16 is less than or equal to 12. Okay, for number 12, you've got to ask yourself, is this true? And negative 16 is always going to be less than or equal to 12. So what we can say for number 12's answer is all real numbers. Okay, because it is true. Remember when we talked about in chapter 1, sometimes we said no solution because we were talking about this. Negative 16 is equal to 12. That is not true, so we would say no solution. But this statement is true. So we can say all real numbers would actually work for solutions here, because when we simplify and get rid of all the g's, we are left with a true statement. For number 13, again, we are distributing, so we'll have 12x minus 6 is greater than or equal to 12x plus 3. Okay, so we're distributing the 6 on the left side and distributing the 3 on the right side. I'm going to subtract 12 to both sides. And again, these 12x's are going to cancel, so we're left with negative 6 is greater than or equal to 3. Because negative 6 is not true, we would say for 13 there is no solution. Okay, so no solution for number 13 because that's not true. Number 14 has like 3 things that you need to write. There are 3 requirements for lifeguard training course are shown. You have to swim at least 100 yards, tread water for at least 5 minutes, and swim 10 yards or more underwater without taking a breath. Kind of tricky. So letter A says write and graph 3 inequalities that represent the requirements. So what I did here is went ahead and just wrote down the inequalities. Each one tells me to at least do something, yards or more. So all of these options for writing the 3 graph inequalities should have greater than or equal to, which means your graph should be a closed dot pointing to the right. For letter B, it says you swim 250 feet, so check, we did the swimming at least 100 yards. We treaded water for 6 minutes, so check, we did that. And then we swam 35 feet underwater without taking a breath. Okay. The only thing is that the last one we talked about yards, and if we're thinking about translating yards to feet, 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. So we're trying to figure out how much is 35 feet equal to. Okay. One way we can translate feet back to yards is just dividing by 3. So if you divide 35 feet by 3, that's going to be approximately, and that's just going to give you 11.67 yards. But what I failed to mention as this up here in letter A, if we swim 250 feet, that is not equivalent to 100 yards. 250 feet is going to be is not equivalent to 300 feet. So really 100 yards is 300 feet. And we've only swam 250 feet, so letter B is no, because we only swam 250 feet, not 300 feet. Okay. For number 15, it says the maximum volume of an American white pelican's bill is about 700 cubic inches. When a pelican scoops up 100 cubic inches of water, write and solve an inequality that represents additional volumes that he can contain. So he can hold up to 700 cubic inches. So I'm going to say something is less than or equal to 700. And right now he's already picked up 100. So how much more can he add to that? So your inequality for number 15 should be B for Bill plus, you can use any letter there too, plus 100 is less than or equal to 700. So he can only hold up to 600 more cubic inches in his bill. The last one, it says we're saving $15 a week to purchase one of the bikes shown. So what we need to do is write and solve an inequality to find the number of weeks you need to save to purchase the bike. If we are saving $15 per week and we're trying to get 120, when we're saving something, we want it to be equal to 120 or bigger than. So we're going to say 15W is greater than or equal to 120. And when we solve that, it's going to have W be greater than or equal to 8 weeks. And then it says your parents give you $65 to help you buy a new bike. How does this affect your answer in part A? Well, this affects our answer greatly because now in part B, we're going to add $65 onto the $15 a week to save to still get greater than or equal to 120. And instead of dividing by 15 right away, we're going to subtract 65 from 120 first. That's going to give us $45 that we really only have to save up for is greater than or equal to 15W, so that when we divide both sides by 15, now it'll only take me about 3 weeks to save up, or 3 and 2, I didn't do that right, hold on. Yep, this should be 55. And 15 will go into 55 3 times still, but 10 left over. So 3 and 10/15 weeks, or 3 and 2/3 weeks. So W is greater than or equal to 3 and 2/3 weeks. So it's definitely helpful when your parents give you some money to help save up for something you like. That's going to conclude our quiz review. So thanks so much for tuning in, and good luck on your Chapter 2 quiz.